When you break promises to yourself and your inner child, you then project it onto your partner, which causes you not to trust them. Hey guys, welcome back to Geek Responsibly. Today I wanted to talk about how you need to support your inner child, allow them to feel trust in you so that they don't feel abandoned, because a lot of people are coming from their inner child. So this inner child will come up when they're at work. This is not take your child to work day. Your inner child will come up in your relationship. These items that happened in our past still stick with us. Or what's the concept around allowing your inner child to trust you, right? Because a lot of people don't realize that they are the reason why their inner child or they feel abandoned. Okay, so let's talk about this, because there's a lot of layers, and I'm hoping that I can explain it in such a way that will be easy to understand. When you are in the womb, will receive a lot of the different hormones as well as emotions that your mother experiences. Now, that could mean that they are feeling stressed about money, and like maybe you were in oopsies and now they're like, oh my gosh, we have to figure out how to survive and support this child. When you come out, those feelings may not go away from your parent because they have not had the tools to regulate their nervous system, okay? Many women do have narcissistic tendencies. I believe I just read a study that there was 17.6 million women that are going to be narcissists. Those women are potentially mothers and have daughters. When we are experiencing narcissistic abuse, and again, our parents do not have to be monsters for our emotional needs to not be met. So let me be very clear. Many women that are moms will experience overwhelm and stress and not feeling supported, etc. The big issue here is that they don't have the tools to regulate their nervous system from their parents and their parents. This is why it's called generational trauma. Their parents parented them through their trauma. Their parents parented them through their trauma, and so on down the line. So they come to parent you with the tools that they were taught from their parent. Now, they may also try and learn new tools, but it's also hard when you have been taught a specific way for 30 plus years. So that's where we get to decide that we get to break the cycle. And that doesn't mean that we have to have children, but it does mean that we have to learn how to soothe our core distressing emotions. When our parent is unable to tend to our emotional needs, so again, we were able to have food, shelter, water, hopefully. Many people I have spoken to didn't even receive that. But if we did receive food, shelter, and water, our basic needs may have still gone unmet. That means when we had big emotions or we felt overwhelmed, we would come to our parent and they would say, oh, you're fine. Oh, that's not even a big deal. Oh, I provide all of these things for you. You don't even have anything to worry about. Now, in our own adult mind, we see that as, yeah, that makes sense. Like I was a child, like I didn't need to stress about all of these things. Or man, I can't believe I even stressed about that. That's not even a big thing. When you're a child, the nervous system feels differently, right? Everything is a big deal. You could receive the abandonment wound. You could receive trauma just by being dropped off at your grandma and grandpa's house, because in your mind, your prefrontal cortex is not fully developed until the age of 25. The age of 25, not 5, not 15, literally the age of 25, to logically understand what is happening, right? So we still have big emotions. We believe that we are the center of everyone's life. they're just little narcissists running around, right? Because they think, if I'm being dropped off, what did I do for my support system, my safety net, to leave me at this random house? That's why they have tantrums, and they're overwhelmed. Now, trauma, it is created, as I speak within a lot of my programs, I uncover what trauma actually is, and that there's trauma with a big T, trauma with a small t. But trauma, in a nutshell, is the body experiencing a situation. It gets overwhelmed. It then goes into survival mode. It then goes into fight or flight. And then we assign a story to it. I am not good enough, or I do not feel safe crying in front of others. Okay? So if parent said, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about, we will then assign the story that I am not safe to cry in front of others. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Okay, so with that all being said, parents parented to the best of their ability, and we now are able to take those items that we experienced, take radical responsibility to heal from those experiences. And these are all choices. Many people were like, well, I didn't choose my parents. I get that. Some say that that's actually not true, that you do choose your parents, but that's a whole nother conversation. But yes, you did not choose the trauma. The trauma was not your fault. However, healing from the trauma is your responsibility. And this is where I was extremely angry. Like, why do I have to fucking heal from all of this trauma that I dealt with my ex? However, everything serves us in one way and limits us in another. Now, with the narcissistic ex that I was with, yes, I had extreme trauma that I dealt with. However, I chose to stay. Even though I didn't feel confident enough and safe enough to leave him because I had stories that I assigned to trauma, that is the piece that I needed to work on in order to get out of the situation. As I started to work on that specific, I didn't know it at the time. I started reading certain self-help books, and these self-help books started to change my energetic vibration, which caused him, I believe this, it caused him to break up with me. Now, at the time I was devastated, but also I felt this relief like wash over me, like finally I'm fucking out of this situation. So my subconscious and my higher self already knew that this relationship wasn't healthy for me. I've already had that conversation in my head of, this is not a healthy this is not a healthy relationship. You need to get the fuck out. Okay? Now, this is where I want to plug what I wanted to share today, right? Our inner child not trusting us abandoning our inner child. I knew deep down with every cell of my being that relationship was not serving me. I chose to stay. Okay? In that moment, I abandoned my inner child. I lost trust with myself. All of that, all of those feelings, I started to project onto my partner and have that anxious attachment style. Do you still love me? Will you leave me? Blah, blah, blah. It's not about him. It was, those words were to my inner child, to myself, sorry, from my inner child. Do you still love me? Are you going to leave me? Now think of your younger self. Maybe look at a picture even. This is a great inner child healing technique. Look at a picture of yourself as a child and say those things. Do you still love me? Are you going to leave me? That sounds scary, right? Like you're thinking about it and you're like, oh, my soul is crushing because yes, I abandoned them. I abandoned her. I have chose to ignore everything that she has been trying to tell me, and I'm choosing to stay in this relationship, right? Let me put it into a different analogy with working out, right? So every day, especially in January, we are like, I'm going to work out and eat better. I'm going to work out and eat better. Oh my gosh, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I have to lose 20 pounds. I just hate myself. I hate the way my body looks. I've gained so much weight, right? These are all things keeping us stuck. Now, when we say, tomorrow I'm going to go to the gym, and we wake up, tomorrow comes and takes us away. Eagle eye cherry. When tomorrow comes, we decide, make the conscious choice to not go. There's so many excuses, right? Like, I'm tired. I don't feel like it. I'm going to have to drive. I'm going to be late for work. My son needs to get up. All these things, right? We just have this whole list that runs through our mind. That is your brain utilizing a trauma response. You are in survival mode. So when you're in survival mode, your body feels a specific feeling of a past situation. Okay? That past situation creates a trauma response that either is you to fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. That is a whole nother thing that we work on within my programs, is figuring out what survival state you are in most often and understanding how to soothe that core distressing emotion or that trauma response. Now, let's say that you are in freeze, you shut down, you don't want to go. You make all of the excuses, okay? When your body shuts down, you then are telling your inner child that you are not good enough. I am going to abandon you again. And in that mindset of freezing and shutting down, you then go to other coping skills to fulfill or soothe, right? Like to cope with the trauma that you just created again. So now it's this big pattern. You say you're going to go to the gym. You wake up. You decide you're not going to go due to a coping mechanism because you're in trauma. You're in survival mode. And then you go into another survival mechanism to soothe the feeling that you feel about not going to the gym, which is typically binge eating, right? Now, all of these things also are tied to your mother wound. How did your mother speak to herself about her body? How did she talk about other people's bodies? I remember I was sitting at my parents' house and my mom goes, wow, it looks like she gained a ton of weight. She was looking at the TV. I don't know. I was an actress. And at that moment, I was like, holy fuck. I remember she would say those things about neighbors, herself. She never said them about me, but I started saying that about myself and had I assigned the story that if I was a specific weight, I was unlovable. I wasn't good enough. And boom, I'm in survival mode. Now I'm in that hamster wheel of gotta go to the gym, gotta work out, gotta eat well, gotta look a certain way. Otherwise, I'm not lovable. Okay. Needless to say, all I'm saying is when you promise yourself something, when you promise to go to the gym, when you promise to eat better, when you promise to do the work, the deep work, feel your feelings, when you promise yourself that you are worthy and that you are going to do this, that is the bond you do not want to break. These are going to continue happening. These patterns are going to continue to play out if you do not have the tools to soothe your nervous system in those moments. So, for example, if you promise yourself you're going to go to the gym and you wake up and you start feeling a feeling and you start shutting down and you want to freeze and you don't want to do anything, then all of a sudden, that is the moment that you utilize your tools. How can I soothe this fear that I'm feeling? What am I resisting? My ear is ringing so much right now. Am I getting a download? Holy shit. Hello, I hear you. Yeah. That is the time that you utilize the tools in order for you to soothe those distressing emotions. Those distressing emotions could be rejection, abandonment, fear of failure, fear of success, anything that you picked up from your parents, those limiting beliefs that you picked up from your parents. Now that the ringing is starting to soothe, and I think I got my point across, I'm going to end it there. So really, what promises have you been making to yourself that you've been breaking? Nope, this is where I'm going to end. Okay. Understand the promises that you make to yourself and how you break them reflects how you feel about your romantic partner. It's not about them. It's that you do not trust yourself. How can you trust yourself more today? What do you need to feel safe in this moment? All right. I will end it there. If you guys have any questions, feel free, throw them in the comments. Also, make sure if you do not already know your mother wound type, take my quiz. It will be in the description below. And also, if you want more tips, tools, and stories of my own experiences, join the Facebook community. That will also be in the description below. Otherwise, always remember to geek responsibly.